All right, friends, today we're gonna make a mask of an animal. I'm gonna start by folding my paper in half one time, and then I'm going to fold it the opposite way. The first thing I'm going to do is cut holes for the eyes. And to do that, I need to find a spot where the paper doesn't separate at all. So on this side, it separates 1, 2 times. Here it separates 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it doesn't separate at all. That's the side I want. On that side, I'm going to draw 1/2 of a rainbow with a pencil. Once you have this, I want you to raise your hand and ask me if it's correct. If you cut this in the wrong spot, your mask will not work. So it's very, very important that you raise your hand and ask before you cut. Now I'm going to open my mask, and you can see that I have holes for eyes. Now mine's going to be an animal, so I'm gonna shape it. I think I want mine to be a blue puppy. I'm gonna cut the corners to make it more of an oval or circle kind of shape. And then I'm going to start to add features to make it look like a dog. Now it doesn't need to be realistic. The first thing I'm gonna do is I want mine to pop out. So I'm gonna cut a diagonal on each of the corners. Then I'm gonna put a dab of glue, and I'm gonna kind of pop it out. So I'm putting this back, this forward, and holding it for a second. This can be a little tricky. So if you want, if your glue isn't sticking and you would like to make yours pop out, you may raise your hand and I'll come around with a stapler and just staple it for you. Now I'm gonna make the snout of my dog. And I'm gonna use this cone style. You have a worksheet that looks like this that shows you some different ways you can do it. And to start the cone style, I need a circle. I'm gonna cut a circle. And then I'm going to cut a slit in my circle and pop it out. Again, adding glue and holding it for a minute. If your glue isn't holding, raise your hand and ask me to staple it. Now to attach this, I need to cut little slits in it. I'm going around and I'm cutting fringe around the outside edge. And now I'm gonna bend that out. This is going to be where it attaches to my mask. Flip it over, and I'm gonna add a little bit of glue to each of these. And stick it on. You do have to hold it sometimes for a minute or so. Now I think I'm gonna add small details onto here. I'm gonna cut out a little nose and put it on the end. And then I'm gonna make some more 3D details that pop out. And we'll go through some paper cutting techniques that will help you. So I'm gonna cut a little circle out of here. Actually, I want it to be a triangle. I changed my mind. I think that looks more like a puppy. And I'm gonna glue it on there. It's a little bit tricky. All right, now I'm gonna cut some whiskers out and I'll show you how to curl the paper when I make the whiskers. So I'm gonna cut little strips of paper. And then I am going to curl them around a pencil. So I have a pencil. I'm gonna curl. Then when I release it, my paper's curled. I'm gonna add a dab of glue and stick it on. So that's one way I can do a whisker. I can also do an accordion fold. An accordion fold is where you go back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back. And it makes like that. So I'm gonna stick that down. So I can do a couple of each of these, or I can just switch it up whenever I feel like it. So I'm thinking about the features my animal has. Dogs have ears, and I want my dog to have floppy ears. I'll add one more whisker. So I'm gonna take, I think I'll make red ears. Now I need 2 ears. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this paper and fold it in half. So that way I get 2 instead of 1. I want my dog to look like a fluffy puppy. So I'm gonna cut kind of like a cloud shape here. And here I'll show you fringe. If you want your animal to have texture, you can do fringe. Fringe is just when I cut little slits in the paper to make it look like fur. Then I'm gonna glue 1 ear there. And since this is near the edge, if you have trouble sticking it, I can staple it. I can't staple things in the middle of your mask, but I can staple things around the edges. And sometimes you need to hold it. Like I can't staple that, so I am gonna have to hold it for a couple minutes. I'm gonna let go because I don't want to take all the time to do that, since this is not really my best piece. Now after I'm done with the puppy, I'm gonna show you some different paper cutting techniques that you might wanna use. So glue, stick it down. Now if this were really my puppy, I think I would add more to it. I might cut out little polka dots to put on him to make him more detailed and just a little more cute. But since this is not a mask I'm gonna keep, I'm just gonna set it to the side and I'm gonna show you some ways you can cut paper. So one technique you might wanna use is called a roll, and you have this on your worksheet. It's different paper cutting techniques. If you were making a pig, this might work well for the nose. I'm rolling it around like this and I'm making a tube. I can staple it if it's not sticking. If I want to attach that down to anything, I need to cut little slits, bend them out, and I'd put the glue around there and then stick it down to whatever it is. Another technique you can do is loops. So to make loops, you need strips of paper. So what I'm gonna do is take this strip and loop it. I'm gonna staple it to save time. Then I take my next one, go through it, and loop it again. And it's like a pattern. You can make a chain. Maybe you're making an animal with long ears, so this could be something you could do. Tabs are a way that you attach paper. So let's say I wanted this, but I wanted it to go up and down like that, not flat. What I do is cut fringe, and then I'm gonna alternate. Bend this way, bend that way. This way, that way, back, forth. Then I put glue on these tabs and stick it down. So that's another thing you can do. You can make a spiral. To make a spiral, you really can start with any shape. Usually people start with a circle, but this works on any shape you want. So I have that circle. Now I'm gonna trace around and around and around, following that same shape. And now I have a spiral. If I wanted to do that with another shape, let's say a square or a rectangle, same idea where you trace around the shape. Like that. Another technique you might want to do is when you fold something and cut, and we use this shape for the, or this technique for the eye, really, you fold and cut, but you can cut out different shapes. So these are the techniques I think you might use for your mask, and again, you have a paper that looks like this that shows you different ways to make snouts and noses. So give these a try and let me know if you have any trouble. I can't wait to see your animal masks.